Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first Zoom chat for the new season. I hope everybody that went to Family Day yesterday had as an enjoyable time as I did. It was fun to see all the new players and staff members and bump into some old friends. Um, Tonight, I'd like to welcome you to listen to some questions and answers from our brand new women's coach, Kory Babington. Hi, Kory. Nice to catch up with you, although briefly yesterday at Family Day. How did the girls go yesterday afternoon? That's a question without notice.
They went well. We had a very good trial game against Wellington Phoenix, and the girls had a win yesterday, and played really well. They're a very good outfit, Wellington, well coached, and they'll be a good team during the season for sure.
I think the big joke around the stands was there any drones up in the sky?
Hmm. There was a couple. I think one of them was ours as well. So
Yeah, for those that don't know, the new women's coach of Wellington is the ex-Canadian coach,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I digress. Corey, can you just give us a little bit of a quick summary of who you are and what your football journey has been, and did you play before deciding to become a coach?
yeah, I did play. I grew up on the south coast, a place called Ulladulla, quiet coastal town, about an hour and a half south of Wollongong. Played there until I was 17, came up to Sydney for university, PE teacher, trained, played for different clubs, the likes of Macarthur Rams, Sutherland Sharks, Camden Tigers. I realised around 23 I was never going to play in the National League, which was back then. I was a decent player at 20, but not just missed the boat. Just missed the boat and wasn't good enough, to be fair. So I got into coaching and started my coaching journey at Football New South Wales under the Curver coaching method, which was heavily involved. It would have been 27 years ago then, and it was a great start to coaching where it was a technical based program, and had a lot of good coaches there that we worked with, and I've been fortunate to have many good mentors during my coaching time. Um, After the Curver coaching and the sort of development program coaching, I got into state teams when I was about 24, 24 to 28. Coach Miloš Dejanek, he was the captain back then, and obviously captain the Socceroos just recently, and many other talented young players. And 3 or 4 years at the Nationals was really good, working with the best 14-year-olds in the country. From there, I realised I wasn't coaching enough. It was just like one tournament a year. So I jumped into a role at Blacktown City. Back then it was the under 20s. And we did really well that year. We won the premiership and the grand final. And there was 5 youngsters from that 20s group played A-League within 6 months. One of
Wow.
them was a local legend for you guys, Matt Ryan. Bernie Ibany came from that team up to the Central Coast. I think he got Golden Boot in the Youth League that next year.
Hmm.
Nick Fitzgerald. So
Oh, Nicky Fitz, yeah,
yeah,
a fan favourite.
back in the day, there was a big link between Blacktown City and because they're a very strong NPL team, and Central Coast Mariners. Guys like Quadrick and Crawley came up from there. From Blacktown City, went to St George FC as a first team head coach in 2011. I did that for 2 years, and that was a learning curve, a bit more managing the board, managing senior players. We had some very talented players there. Pablo Cardozo, for instance, who was finishing up then, but a former Golden Booter in the NSL. Then I at the end of 2012, I did a coaching update down in Canberra and was inspired by the new sort of methodology that FA were putting out. And I gave a call to one of my old coaches, which was Trevor Morgan. Trevor's obviously the national technical director at the moment, but at that time he was the Wanderers youth coach. And I just wanted to come out and just watch a couple of sessions and went out there and helped him out for a couple of days and something came up there which was a team manager role. So I quickly jumped on that because Trevor is one of the best coaches in the country, in my opinion, and worked in that environment with himself for 4 years. That was a time there where Tony Popovich was the head coach, Ante Milicic was the assistant. So just working in that environment and seeing top coaches who they were top at that time and now have since progressed even further. And at that time, they also won the Asian Champions League, which in Australia, I think I don't know if that will happen again. Um, when you're competing with those Asian and Saudi countries,
Mm.
the playing field, there's no salary caps over there. Um, so I was very fortunate to see a lot of good kids come through then. Uh, Keone Backus comes to mind, Cameron Devlin. Um, and yeah, working with that, I was blessed for that 4 years. From there, the timing of that sort of was led me to taking over the Westfields football program in about 2014. So that's been my full-time role for this is the 11th year now. During that time, the amount of players that have come through there's very high that have progressed to high levels. At the Mariners at the moment, players like Vukovic, uh, DiPizio, um, Nikki Duarte, and in the women's side, I work with Gomez at the school, Taylor Ray, who's since departed, um, and a couple of the girls who have been signed this year as well. Um, and we integrated the high performance football school at Westfields in 2018, and that was a FFA initiative under the then technical director Eric Abrams. Pavlicic was another one in that group, the goalkeeper, and there's lots of top talent come through that and really progress. The likes of Ellie Carpenter, Clara Cooney-Cross, Jamila Rankin, um, you know, Jada Wyman was at school there. I believe at the moment in the current Matilda squad, there's six women from the school. In the under 20s at the moment, there's eight, and abroad with the current 17, there's another eight players.
Wow.
So the amount of players that have come through there is a testament to the quality of the coaches there. We have a lot of good staff there. The reputation of the school has been really good for a long time, and training with the boys regularly has also been a bit of a leg up for those girls where they can be tested every day.
Mm.
Um, so we did that for a couple of years before it sort of ended, and Football Australia changed their direction with that school programs. And then I worked down with Milos Stadrovsky in another Mariners legend,
Yep.
and I assisted him in the NPL space as his assistant for 2 years. Mile's, a top coach and a gentleman, and he's done really well with the Bulls since taking over the head coach role there. So it was good to work with him. I actually played with him as a youngster in a school representative team. Um, he was the best player, and I was just in the team.
Yeah, he's an incredible coach. I always thought he was such a quiet and very even-tempered person. I wondered when he first started, like I knew he had his academy and everything, but wondered when he first started coaching the men's team that, you know, he mightn't just have that angry, but I think he's got a quiet angry.
He's very respectable. He he doesn't have an ego. He's just about
Mm,
and he understands the game really well. He's super organized. He's
mm,
great at the training pitch. So yeah, he's got a lot ahead of him in his career for sure. Um, so when I finished up with Millet in 2022, I I got a call from a colleague, a former colleague, Leah Blaney, who was working in the young Matilda space. And while I hadn't coached women's teams before, we had the girls at the school for a long time. So I've been working with them closely for a long time, and she asked me to come on board as an assistant with the young Matildas. Uh, and Leah is another female coach who has a huge future, obviously, in Japan at the moment as the assistant. And it was a
mm,
difficult challenge because we had a lot of girls from the school and very, very talented group. And I combined that role as a young Matildas assistant with the future Matildas head coach role in Sydney. So for the last 3 years, I've worked in that during that A-League off season.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of players have come through that program and played for the senior national team. I work closely in that program with Gomez and Greta Crisula, Peter Trimmis, Tiana Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a technical based program based out of Blacktown. Very enjoyable, very professional. Um, Lots of good staff there, the best players. And that young Matildas squad that we took to the Asian Cup in 2023, I believe, and qualified for the World Cup was the first team in 16 years to do that under 20 level. So
Wow.
that was huge just in the fact of qualifying because unless you see the likes of Japan and Korea and North Korea up close and you're on the sideline training playing against them, it's people don't actually understand how technical, how quick. Uh, there's huge money being invested in Asia.
It's a completely different world over there. I can remember Laurie even saying many years ago when he went over to Asia, and a couple of the players that went across, it's a whole different dynamic. Um, you work for the company, and that's the way you have to train as well, and you've got to put in you know, the whole 10 yards or you're just out.
Yeah, it was. I went and watched a game between Japan and North Korea on one of our off days when I was scouting it. And at that time, Japan were the World Cup champions, world champions, and came back to the group. And Leah asked me, how was the game?" I go, "I hope we actually play Japan because I know the champions of the world because this Korean outfit was. I've never seen the discipline, the structure,
Mm, mm.
the athleticism, the competitiveness." And they eventually went on to win the World Cup in Colombia. So I was right in the assessment that they were a bit different.
Mm.
Um, we were fortunate enough in the World Cup to play the first match against a host Colombia, and that was a stadium sellout of I think 32,000. And running the warm up there, the players couldn't hear you from 10 meters away.
Mm.
It was it was it was an experience a lot of them won't forget.
Well, I think even as a fan, we can honestly say that it's a bit of a shell shock when Mariners have played in any Asian Cup type competition in the amount of fans that are even brought up to our stadium, and they just never stop, and it's just noise, and they're just constant. So they really get into it.
Yeah, they're very very passionate, and they in that game there was a superstar who plays for Real Madrid, Linda Caicedo. So she's playing for the first team Real Madrid, and we had a lot of players who played good minutes in the A League.
Mm,
There are, and the last few years there's been great opportunities for the youngsters um, to play regularly, which is great for our junior national teams. But when they're coming up against world superstars, it's
Mm.
a whole different ball game.
So is the women's sides over there, like, you said that they spend big bucks over there. Is it like the men's where I think um our men's team played, I think it was an Indonesian side or something. And most of the guys that were in the team uh looked, well, 99, a lot of them were Dutch because they went back to grandparents who had gone to Indonesia, or, some parent or cousin or uncle, is it like that? You said, because they have no constriction with money. So,
Yeah, I think some countries look for that heritage and opportunity,
mm,
and you even see that in Australia, where maybe if a talented young player is overlooked a bit from
mm,
national teams, or maybe they're not up to level here, you regularly see young players go and play for Malta or Ireland or um, different countries.
even Hutch played for Malta. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it can happen, and I mean it's good for them that they get international experience, and I think they can still swap back a bit later as if they progress enough.
yeah, absolutely. So you found the change over from men's teams to the women's teams, how can I put it? Not an eye opener, like is it a level playing field at um like with the Matildas versus Socceroos, do you think?
Oh, I think at that national team level and the senior level, I think the players are well looked after, and
Mm,
rightfully so. From travel to
mm.
there's standards that the federations and that have to sort of abide by. So yeah, I think they're all well looked after. Obviously, the national teams is the pinnacle for any young player to try and get to. Uh, there are still things for Australian teams with the longer travel to the Middle East or
Mm.
Asia's. That's a long way, right? Even in our domestic comp, when you fly into Perth, that's massive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't seem to, I think a lot of um players that come out from, even from the Europe side of things, they can't believe the travel that's involved in the Australian competition. Like that's flying a couple of countries for them.
yeah, it's huge, and I think if we could have more competitive games each year, particularly in the youth spaces, that would help. That would help the players develop quicker.
Yes,
I've
definitely.
got some friends who live in Belgium, and they sometimes take a bus to Holland, and they're there in half an hour. Then they
Yeah.
go to Germany the other way, and they've only got to travel an hour each way to get really world-class matches an hour
Mm,
away.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit tough for us. Um, so have you had to change your coaching style going from, working with the boys to working with the women
Not really. I think uh, I've obviously worked with girls for
at the school?
probably since I started coaching, to be fair. Like I remember coaching a young like Chloe Lagazzo when she was 8 at Valentine Sports Park, and Kai Simon when she was 12. And yeah, p permanently through the school system. I guess with the girls, you have to know your player to start with.
Mm,
So there's some girls who you might have a rapport with for 8 or 9 years, and with Izzy Gomez, for instance, I can be very honest with Izzy because I've known her for a decade, right?
mm,
Uh, but then you have to get to know the other players because
yeah.
they'll respond to different things, and I think if you respectfully, treat people and
Mm,
try, and they know you're
mm.
trying to help them, and you're putting that time into showing them on the park, showing them on the video, and yeah, you don't, you just have to be respectful, and want what's best for them and try and help them achieve that. And I think that develops a relationship between the coach and the player.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you apply for the Mariners?
I think I was just headhunted. They were just looking for a top coach, you know.
That's what we do.
No, to be honest, I just got a phone call.
Mm,
Um, got a phone call, and it interests me because the potential of the Central Coast is huge. You know, it's a one club region.
mm,
Um, Forever, it's punched above its weight. The club, you know, watching the men in that grand final the other year against City, and the women's team last year is huge.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, we think so.
oh, it's undeniable. And I think back in the day when Arnie was the head coach of the men, probably through necessity of having to find solutions to not having everything you want, including the money to sign
Mm,
everyone. You know, players like Amini, players like
mm,
Ebony, players like Matt Ryan. Like, if the young talent that and if it's picked correctly, if they're coached well, you see what the product of that is. And even the last few years with the Mariners men, you've sold a lot of players.
mm.
Silvera, Triancis, uh, you know, the list goes on, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for players if they're good enough. The Mariners always compete and make it really hard for teams. And, you know, I think this year we want that to be part of the women's DNA again.
Mm.
We're very hard to beat. Uh, Players, they're very keen for this opportunity they're being afforded to them this year. Um, so yeah, they have to. We have to be organised. We have to be hardworking, and yeah, the girls are getting better with all that every week.
Absolutely. Look, last year was a dream come true. Must admit it. They just had to believe, and they did, which blew us all out of the water. Many of our members, went down to Melbourne for that game. Um, so what is your honest expectation for the year?
Honest expectation. Well, I get a bit deluded where I can actually, as a coach, I think I'm a chance in every game we play. All right, and that's just not moving forward. That's how I feel when I'm
Mm,
coaching my son's 11 under 11 Bs, or my daughter's under 16 A's. I'm the assistant coach of that at the moment. Uh, yeah, I think we want to be competitive in every game. We want the players to improve every week and every session, and then that's what we aim for. The last couple of trial games I've had, and we've got better each match, and we've won both of them as well. So I think the more we train the girls, I think the more that they see that there's a plan in place and that they can improve individually. Then if we can make all the individuals better, it's then a team thing where
mm,
everyone knows their roles, everyone contributes to it. I mean, I'm definitely not going to sit here and say we're going to win the grand final again. I want to do that, but we aim to win every game.
yeah.
The players, uh, the players clearly understand that that's what I want to try and do, and they have to then try and do it. If
Oh,
if
yeah.
if they're not trying to win every match, then they should just stay at home or stick to their career.
Mm, yeah. Um, is your style very different to Emily's, or I know every coach is different, but
Yeah, I think watching the Mariners, particularly last year, and under Emily, they were very hard to break down.
mm,
They were very defensively sound and structured. Uh, in the second year, the year that you were so successful, um, the imports that came in Pennick and Nunn were another point of difference as well.
Mm.
Um, and obviously Gomez stepped up, uh, particularly in that last, the run in was, she was superb. So, yeah, well, from the defensive perspective, we need to be hard to score against. We need to make it very hard for teams. We need to be organized and disciplined um, and defend our box well. With the ball, we obviously want to try and have good possession, right? But there are also moments where you might not dominate the game. You might not have as much possession as your opponent. So being good in transition moments and being clinical when it matters is crucial
Mm.
because and we had some really good chances yesterday, and a couple of the goals were what we worked on at training. So if we can be clear in how we want to play in from the training ground to then, and it comes to life on the pitch, then that for me is sort of success when it happens quickly like that. And the girls have improved dramatically in the 3 weeks we've had. So that's positive signs, and I'm still getting to know all of the girls'
Mm.
qualities and at times limitations because we put together the squad pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my next question. You've only been here a short time, so did you have any input into the makeup of the squad since getting here? And are there other, like, we noticed some new faces yesterday, whilst they haven't been announced. Are they permanents in the side, or are they training in, or?
Yeah, we've finalised the squad.
Mhm,
So in the first 2 weeks that I was on board, it was
mhm,
watching a lot of NPL games. I was getting to the grand finals, semi-finals, um, and trying to pick players who could fit in, particularly to the mentality that I want of players in my squad.
mhm,
People who are winners, people who deserve an opportunity, uh, people who have played A-League but maybe not played as much as they should for whatever reason under different managers. So we've got a core group of girls here who are 21, 22, even younger. So and they're top talents. There's a lot of ex-youth internationals there. And we've also padded that out with some experience, particularly in our defensive stocks, players who've excelled in um, different environments. And I believe we put a well-balanced team together for sure.
mm. So there's no other open spaces. That's it for now.
Yeah, at the moment we're done and very happy with what we've got. There will be some new players that people will be able to see shortly, and um, they would have seen them at the fan day yesterday, and I believe those announcements aren't far off at all.
Okay. Hopefully, once we get a media manager back, we will have a lot more announcements. Um, do you think the women's competition and the way the women are paid and it'll be as professional as the men's anytime soon?
Oh, it's changed a lot in the last 10 or 15 years. Right? It's changed dramatically, but it needs to go that far again. Right? If it's going to be professional, like
Mm,
you can talk about professional and the fact that okay, we're playing in stadiums. We train 4 days a week. We go to the gym. They do recovery. They got GPS on. We do match analysis. But if you're a 25, 26-year-old woman with having to pay rent somewhere and live,
mm,
this is not professional money, right?
no.
So you have a lot of people trying to combine things, trying to study, trying to um, make it in football, uh, and it's not easy for them. If you're a 18-year-old living at home and you're still at school, this is a nice job for you,
Mm.
but you're not, yeah, you're not paying for a unit and your house and
Yeah.
and tolls and petrol. And so it has improved a lot, but yeah, we have a long way to go, a long way to go.
Yeah, it surprises me that yeah, their contracts are concluded as soon as they basically finish their season. So if they finish, if you don't make the finals, that's when your contract concludes.
Yeah,
If you make the finals, yeah, you get a bit extra. But in the juggling of, I know, remember with Bianca last year being a physiotherapist, having to come up from Sydney to training and then go down, you know, do a few hours work and others that are still studying, getting degrees and trying to juggle all that and be classified as a professional player. It's very sad to me.
yeah.
Um, what would you say to young girls who want to get into football? What's their your best advice?
They just have to enjoy it.
Mm,
They just have to enjoy that football's a game which is inclusive of everyone, regardless of their body type, regardless of how tall they are, the maturation stage. If they, if any young girl falls in love with the ball and wants to have a kick and play and she enjoys it, those young age groups are very important for developing like core skills.
mm,
So if they can do that and they enjoy it, then it's very easy for them to continue with it. And I think when girls start to develop and even young boys, once they get a bit better, it becomes they want more. They crave more. They want to learn. They want to be around better players. They want to compete. And I think the biggest thing is also the friend side of it.
mm.
The social aspect's huge. It keeps you fit. I think the fitness side of it's great. And there's many different levels and opportunities for females. There's probably no better time to be a female player because of the World Cup had massive exposure for Australia. The
Mm.
Asian Cup's coming up. The Matildas are a household brand and probably the most famous team in the country. Um, and football's very popular with women. Um, Opportunities for young players to play in the A League if they're good enough is huge at the moment. Whereas the rewards for the best Matildas to play in Europe and particularly America and England at the moment are huge. That opens up opportunities back home for the best teenagers to be pushed into those A League environments.
Yeah, but yeah. I actually have a friend through a love of another sport whose daughter is has just travelled. I think they've gone to somewhere in Asia. She's in the under 17s. So I'll give you a name later. Uh, but I know that she's like had a pretty tough time. I know she's been through two or three academies, like bigger, Sydney academies because she's from Sydney. And yeah, that once they start getting into academies, sometimes the politics and everything can be a bit
Yeah.
hard for them and coping.
What I see up the coast, we went to a presentation evening a couple of weeks ago um, down at Wally's Wharf there, and for the Mariners Academy,
Mm,
and it was really well put together. It was a lot of good people, a lot of the coastie kids are they're fit,
mm,
they're outside, they're active kids, um, and there doesn't seem up on the coast to be that level of politics and maybe interference that you might have in bigger Sydney clubs and where it's a bit
mm.
more cutthroat. So that's a positive sign for the local players.
Yay. Um, Just trying to think if I've got anything else written down here for the moment. Um, Colin, have we got any more questions? I thought I saw quite a few coming up on the chat.
Yeah, I got there's a couple there, and I've come up with a couple myself through here. So the
Yep.
first one, the question is in relation to the transition, your transition from international to club football. How have you coped with that? What's it like? Yeah,
It's really good. Like I'm a football coach who likes being on the grass and not just being in the office. And I need to coach, and coaching 4 days a week. That's not development sort of coaching. So we obviously want an outcome each weekend, which is to win. So training towards that, and with the the scouting that goes with that, with the reviews of training, the reviews of matches, the individual player meetings, that rapport has been great. Um, managing players' loads and putting fitness plans together in terms of how hard we train them and those sorts of things has been interesting as well, where we've had players come in at all different physical levels. So it's not like a one size fits all approach where, you have to be considerate of, players, past injuries or where they're at, or those sorts of things. In the international space, there's a lot more scouting um, for players to select. So the last few years, I've been watching a lot of A-League women, but with a keen focus on the under 20 players who are age eligible. So watching a lot of those players to see who deserve to be in the national team. There was also a lot of international travel. I think I went to 8 countries in the 2 years that I was with the young Matildas. So that's a fair bit of time away and things like that. When you have the girls in camp, it might be 3 or 4 sessions, and then you're playing international games if you're lucky. So the time is a bit limited with that, that you have them. But one of the beauties of that young Matilda squad is the future Matildas runs sort of parallel to that, so you can have the girls a bit longer.
right. And then there's a second part to that. Making that transition, does it help having current young Matildas in the squad, especially seeing as you've worked with them, or does it hinder you?
I think I think it definitely helps because the moment you have rapport with players, it's immediately a better situation. Uh, you know their capabilities, you know their strengths and weaknesses. I think if you have that rapport, and clearly Emily had a great rapport with the squad last year, then they play for you and they play for the club, and it's a lot easier to get everything out of them. Um, you also, when you know how good players are because you've worked with them, you develop a keen sense of trust in them as well. That you know that a 19-year-old is going to be good enough.
Yeah. So then I've got a couple from myself. This season's going to be a little different with all of the women's games being played at the stadium. What's your opinion on that?
I think the stadium is a great facility down there yesterday, and there doesn't look like a better place to play. It's picturesque. It's the pitch is beautiful. Um, I'm led to believe that last year that the following towards the end of the girls' season was big. That people started to follow a bit more, particularly as the success came on. So hopefully we can get that going again, have some good results, and the fans get out and see the girls and support them and will them on.
Jay, I'm kind of thinking you're looking over my shoulder here at the list of questions I've got because that's a great segue into the next one. I've engaged on a number of occasions with people in discussions who attend men's matches but not the women's games, and they basically normally give two reasons: that it's not as skillful as the men's game, or it's too slow. It's slower than the men's game. What would you actually say to those people?
Yeah, I think the physical differences between a man and a woman are clear, and men are mostly going to be quicker and stronger and more powerful. So yeah, I get that. I get the speed side of it. From a technical perspective, the girls' games come in leaps and bounds.
Mm.
But we've got some girls this year who do things which surprise me every session, just the technical quality. Um, like all players, though, men and women, they all need to get quicker all the time, and they all need to get um, improved technically. So that is a working point for every session. But the men are definitely exciting, and the Mariners fans have been blessed the last few years with the success of the men's team, and for many years because it is exciting, and they've won a lot of silverware with that. So I understand that, and if they do give the girls a go and come down and have a look, then we will be trying our best to make sure that they return and are entertained.
I think if people make it to the games, what they find with the women um, is if the women go to ground, there's really a problem because they tend to bounce. They get knocked down, they get back up again. You know, I found creeping into a lot of the men's game that, it's getting a little bit theatrical at times when they go, it's the slightest of touch, they're down, they're screaming in pain. Not quite the Barisha stage, but, I just find, yeah, if the girls get knocked down, they will just, get back up and attack again.
Yeah, and there is one more here that one of our attendees has asked for, Kory, but I'm going to leave it up to you whether you answer the question or not. Confirmation on players that are no longer with us, who were here last season.
Yeah,
You able to tell us which players, or should we be leaving these for the announcements that are coming up?
yeah, good question. I understand people wanting to know that. As you alluded to before, with the media manager departing, there will be announcements sort of coming soon, and I'll leave that up to the club to pass on, and hopefully that's done in the near future.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, fair enough. But is there any that we might instantly know or um, fall in love with because of the way they've played? Just a little hint.
The new one,
Yeah.
there's there's some very likable characters there in terms of personalities and also how they play. So yeah, you did get a sneak peek at them yesterday, and uh, yeah, I think when you start to see a bit of the social media stuff,
Mm.
they've got tons of personality, and they're very keen to get started with it all.
You're a hard man to get information on, I'll say that much. Apart from, as we mentioned yesterday, I had one of the girls say to ask you who your favourite player was, and why is it Annabelle? She's a character within herself.
Yeah.
She's a total character. She's good value. Good value. Okay, so if anybody else has any questions or not, Colin, nothing else?
I think that's it.
Okie dokie. Well, Kory, thank you.
Unless you want to ask Kory some of the generic questions we
Oh,
ask,
the generic questions.
non-football,
Okay.
the non-football.
Favorite EPL side?
Favorite EPL?
Mm-hmm.
I like Man City.
Okay. That's what I've got to find now. Where's the? Sorry, lost the other questions.
Best karaoke song?
That's right.
Monsoon, Robbie Williams.
Oh, that's a good one. Haven't heard that one come out before. Um, See, a lot of them are designed for the players and things like that. So, teammates that you'd work. Oh, who is the GOAT of women's cricket? Women's football. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, I think there's going to be there's a couple of good young ones that I've worked with a bit. I think they will have really big futures.
But I mean, of all time.
Of all
Look,
time,
if you had to pick out of your Martyrs and
Alex Morgan.
Alex Morgan and all those,
yeah, I think Marta.
Marta. If you hadn't gone into coaching, would you still be the technical director at the school?
No, no, I knew I was going to be coach forever.
Yeah. Well, here's to a good season. Thank you for coming on. We'll have another catch up with you probably halfway through the season and continue on from there. All success to you and the girls. We can't wait for the first game of the season, which is in November.
Yeah,
So thank you again. And yeah, we'll catch up soon.
thanks for inviting me on and thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thanks heaps, Kory.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Kory.